All right, so let's jump right in. Today, we're getting into Brené Brown's amazing book, The Gifts of Imperfection. And it's all about this really simple but kind of huge idea. What if we could let go of the person we think we're supposed to be so we can finally really embrace the person we actually are? And that brings us to a really big question, one the book forces you to ask yourself. Are you living the life you think you're supposed to? The one that checks all the right boxes for everyone else? Or are you living the life you truly deep down want? It's a tough one, and it's pretty much exactly where Brené Brown's whole journey with this began. So that journey, it led her to this massive discovery, something she wasn't even looking for. It all started with her academic research, but where it ended up, well, it hit a little too close to home. Now, it's super important to remember, Brené Brown isn't like a self-help guru. She's a researcher, a PhD. Her entire career was built on studying the really hard stuff. Emotions like shame, fear, vulnerability, basically all the things we try to avoid. Think of her as a scientist of the human spirit. So while she's digging through literally thousands of personal stories for her research, she stumbles onto something unexpected. See, in the middle of all these stories about struggle, there was this other group, a group of people whose stories just felt different. They were living these really inspiring, vibrant lives. And the first word that popped into her head to describe them was wholehearted. So, of course, being a researcher, she's like, okay, I have to know why. What is it about these people? She started digging into their stories, and this incredibly powerful pattern started to emerge, and it fell into two very, very distinct columns: a do list and a don't list. And wow, the difference was just stark. On one side, you have the wholehearted. They were actively practicing things like worthiness, rest, play, and authenticity. And on the other side, all the things they were trying to let go of, that constant chase for perfection, wearing exhaustion like a badge of honor, or just desperately trying to fit in. But here's the thing, seeing this data all laid out like that, it wasn't just some big academic breakthrough. For Brené Brown, it became a full-blown, deeply personal crisis. It was a moment she actually calls for great unraveling. And this is the moment that's just a total gut punch. After staring at these two lists, she had this devastating realization. That don't list, the one with perfectionism and exhaustion and judgment, it wasn't just data anymore. It was basically a description of her own life. So she grabbed a marker, drew a line right under it, and just wrote the word me. What came next was a whole year of soul-searching and therapy. She calls it her breakdown spiritual awakening, which makes you wonder, right? Can you really have one without the other? This crisis wasn't an ending for her. It was a beginning. It was the start of a desperate search for a completely new way to live. And that search, it led her to pinpoint the core practices, you could almost call them the essential tools, that these wholehearted people were using every single day. And these weren't just some lofty ideas, they were actual intentional things they did. First up, courage. But we're not talking about the superhero running into a burning building kind of courage. The original root of the word comes from cor, which is the Latin word for heart. So it literally meant to tell your story with your whole heart. It's not about being fearless. It's about being brave enough to be imperfect and vulnerable. The second tool is compassion. And again, the word itself tells you so much. Its Latin roots literally mean to suffer with. So it's not about fixing someone or feeling sorry for them from way up high. It's about getting down in the dark with them, as an equal, and just recognizing that we're all in this together. And finally, there's connection. She talks about this as the energy, that spark, that happens between people when they feel truly seen, heard, and valued. And this isn't just some fluffy, nice idea. Neuroscience actually confirms we are hardwired for this stuff. It's a biological need, like food and water. So you've got these three big tools: courage, compassion, and connection. But what's the glue that holds it all together? What's the foundation? Well, that brings us to maybe the single most important concept in this entire book. After all of her research, when she boiled it all down, the one thing that truly separated the wholehearted folks from everyone else who was struggling was simply this: a deep, core belief that they were worthy of love and belonging. And this is the big takeaway right here. Worthiness doesn't have prerequisites. It's not something you earn if you get the promotion or when you lose the weight. The wholehearted people, they operate from a place of worthy now.
right this minute, exactly as you are.
And let's be real for a second. Most of us have this list, don't we? That little nagging voice in our head that says, I'll be good enough when, and then it just fills in the blank. Brené calls this hustling for your worthiness, and it is the exact opposite of living a wholehearted life.
So when you think about it, to live this way, with that courage, that compassion, and that rock-solid sense of worthiness, it's really about looking at your own messy, beautiful, imperfect life and just saying, I'm all in. And that's really the final question this book leaves every one of us with. Are you?